This is Bob Parr, and this is Syndrome, two heroes who became villains. Yeah, you're probably thinking, Bob, a villain, and Syndrome, a hero? Well, yes and yes. Pixar used their arcs to show that turning a hero into a villain doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, quiet unraveling. Yet, all it took was 4 simple steps. The first is plain, yet crucial. Start by making them feel special, then build their entire identity around it. Before the capes got outlawed and the Fanboy became a terrorist, you've got to understand one thing. Both Mr. Incredible and Buddy Pine started with good intentions. They both wanted to help, protect, and matter. Let's start with Bob Parr, or as he preferred back then, Mr. Incredible. The name alone tells you everything. There's nothing humble about it.
Thank you, Mr. Incredible.
Yeah, you're the best.
No, I'm just here to help.
However, that egotism doesn't mean Bob only picks the biggest fights. He doesn't mind saving cats from trees or stopping a local purse thief. He just wants to help, and every punch he throws, every life he saves, reinforces this story in his head. I was made for this. And that's where the first hook is set. Because when your identity is built entirely around what you do, you become dependent on it. You can't just stop one day and go, maybe I'll become an accountant. That's not how it works for Bob. Heroism is his self-worth in costume form. Now enter Buddy Pine. Buddy is just a kid, but he's already built himself an origin story. He doesn't have powers, but he has brains, and he uses them to build gadgets that simulate powers such as rocket boots.
And Incrediboy!
Honestly, if you looked at this kid from the right angle, you'd see the early sketches of a young Tony Stark. But here's the thing. Buddy wants to be next to the hero. His whole concept, Incrediboy, is literally a sidekick fantasy designed to make him feel like he matters in the story. And who's the story centered around? Mr. Incredible. Buddy doesn't just admire him, he's obsessed, even to the point of being creepy. He calls himself Incrediboy, like he's Bob's child. He has Bob's posters in his house, dresses like him, and even rocks his hairstyle. Okay, we get it. He is just a passionate kid who wants to prove himself useful. And Bob probably should be blamed for Buddy's enthusiasm.
You always say be true to yourself. You never say which part of yourself to be true to.
Unfortunately, Bob isn't having it. When Buddy shows up uninvited, suited up, and ready for action, Bob shuts him down hard. Even when the kid shows he has an advantage over him, Bob is still not impressed.
I can fly. Can you fly?
Fly home, buddy.
At first glance, it seems reasonable. Superhero work is dangerous. Kids shouldn't get involved. But Bob's rejection isn't just about safety. It's also about ego. He doesn't want to share the stage. He doesn't want to babysit. He wants to fly solo, solve problems, and get the spotlight all to himself. It's not an accident that he almost misses his wedding because he's busy catching bad guys. The applause is addictive, and Bob is hooked. However, the twist is, Buddy is just like him. Naive? Yes. Careless? Definitely. But their core desire is the same. They both want to be important, and they need someone else to validate that feeling. But here's the issue. Bob and Buddy are being told in very different ways that their identities are conditional. For Bob, society will love him as long as he keeps saving lives. For Buddy, he's only valuable if his hero lets him help. But every hero needs a turning point. And for these two guys, they were about to experience the worst kind.
In a stunning turn of events, a superhero is being sued.
The Incredibles twist their hero into a villain by breaking the story they believe about themselves. For Bob, he was sued multiple times, once by a man whose life he saved mid-suicide attempt, and then by passengers injured during a high-speed train rescue. Add in a few property damage claims and a legal system with no patience for collateral, and suddenly saving the day is considered a criminal offense. The government's response?
The supers would be granted amnesty from responsibility in exchange for the promise to never again resume hero work.
The superhero relocation program becomes less of a protection plan and more of a silent death sentence. Bob's choice is simple: vanish into civilian life or go rogue. And so, Mr. Incredible becomes Bob Parr again. Just Bob. He's given a job at Insuricare, an irony-heavy desk job in a cubicle farm where the only power he's allowed to use is stamping paper as a claims adjuster.
Denied? You're denying my claim?
His strength is irrelevant, his compassion is a problem, and his boss berates him for helping clients navigate loopholes to actually get covered. Bob is drifting, and you can see it from his carriage and facial expressions. He only lights up a little when he finds a way to help, even though he knows he is risking his job.
I also do not advise you to fill out and file a W-2475 form with our legal department on the second floor.
Helping is Bob's nature, and the fact that he couldn't do this freely has drained all the life out of him. Even at home, he is a shadow of himself. He gets angry easily, and he's absent from his family's activities, even though he might be present in the room.
Do you have to read at the table?
Yeah.
He only comes to life when Dash is ratted out by Helen about using his powers in school. This is because anything that reminded him of superhero life was a breath of fresh air. Therefore, when a kid says he wants to see something amazing from Bob, his response says everything.
Me too, kid.
This is why he always looked forward to Wednesday night, to his wife. It's just bowling night between Bob and Lucius. But really, this is when he gets to be himself again, even though secretly.
A fire. We're close. Yeah, baby!
This was what he lived for. Unfortunately, it only comes once a week, and this is all because of that night. The night of his wedding, the night when he saved a suicidal man. The night that led to superheroes getting banned. However, that was also the night that changed Buddy Pine. When Buddy showed up to help catch Bon Voyage, he thought he was stepping into his destiny. He saw himself fulfilling a role, but Mr. Incredible didn't see that. All he saw was a liability, and he wasn't wrong. Bon Voyage planted an explosive on Buddy's cape.
No, stop! There's a bomb!
Bob saved him by diverting a literal death by bomb moment. But from Buddy's point of view, Bob just ruined everything. The mission, the dream, the approval. What Buddy remembers is not the explosion, but the rejection. That moment snaps something in him.
It tore me apart, but I learned an important lesson.
The hero worship dies, and what rises from the ashes is something sharper, smarter, more dangerous. That's the day Buddy Pine stops trying to join the superhero club and starts planning how to burn it down. This is the paradox of rejection. But where Bob internalizes his rejection, withdrawing into himself, Buddy externalizes his. His new belief is rooted in vengeance. If you won't let me be a hero, then I'll replace you and all supers. And here's where we get to the wound. Every villain needs one. A moment where the self gets fractured. According to psychiatrist Dr. James Gilligan, who worked extensively with violent offenders, all violence is an attempt to replace shame with self-esteem. That fits here. Buddy was humiliated by his idol. Bob was discarded by society. Bob's case was even worse because even after trying to settle into his new, humiliating job, he got fired. Why? Well, because when his boss prevented him from stopping an ongoing mug, he shoved him through several office walls.
You were this close to losing your...
Bob's cover was blown. His boss was sent to the ICU, and he was fired. Hence, another rejection. That said, both Buddy and Bob felt shame, helplessness, and irrelevance, and both, in their own way, start trying to get their self-worth back, no matter the cost. Dr. Frank Oakberg, another psychiatrist and trauma expert, once said that physical pain is more bearable than shame. And that's the key here. Bob wasn't physically hurt, neither was Buddy, but their sense of self took a direct hit. and they never recovered. With their power gone, what's left is a catastrophe. But how this is exhibited is about to take two very different shapes. Whether or not you've seen this movie doesn't prepare you for what's about to happen next. Now, you offer them a taste of what they lost. You make them believe they can get it all back, but this time it has to be on their terms. This is the moment they get hooked all over again, and their motives twist from altruism to pure selfish validation. For Bob, it started with a message left in his suitcase.
Hold still?
A mysterious woman named Mirage offers him a job. Not a desk job or an office gig, a mission. She knows about his powers. She knows he's capable. And most importantly, she wants him. She frames it like an opportunity, but better. It's something confidential, high stakes, tailored to his specific skill set. But what it really is bait. Bob looks at all the pinned newspaper reports and pictures from his past heroic life and accepts the job. He knew Helen wouldn't bite, so he lied to her.
The company is sending me to a conference.
A conference?
Suddenly, he's flying to a remote island on a private jet. The mission? Take down a rogue robot that's gone off script. And just like that, he's back. He's punching, he's dodging, he's alive. The joy on his face when he wins is both pride and relief. For the first time in years, he feels like Mr. Incredible again.
How does it compare?
Everything's delicious.
And with that taste, he's hooked. Bob starts training again, working out to get rid of all the excess fat accumulated over the years. He's more affectionate with Helen, more playful with the kids. On the surface, everything seems better. But this new piece, it's built on lies. He's living a double life, but in both, he is, quote-unquote, incredible again. Now, while Bob's chasing the ghost of his former glory, Buddy Pine is no longer Buddy. He's become Syndrome, and unlike Bob, his reinvention isn't a return to something lost. It's a declaration of war. The same syndrome fits Buddy Pine perfectly because it reflects both his psychological unraveling and his calculated villainy. A syndrome is a set of symptoms forming a condition, and Buddy's transformation from obsessed fan to vengeful tech mogul is a result of rejection, ego, and obsession working together like a diagnosis. Buddy is no longer trying to be a hero. He wants to destroy them now, and by the time he hired Bob under false pretenses, his plan was already in motion. Many heroes who have been declared missing have been tested and eventually killed by Syndrome. Now it was Bob's turn. Every mission he takes is part of a test. Syndrome is using him to train the Omnidroid, a robotic killing machine designed to adapt, learn, and eventually defeat supers. Every time Bob wins, the robot gets upgraded, and every time Syndrome learns more, his plan inches forward.
After you trashed the last one, I had to make some major modifications.
This is where it gets dark. After Syndrome reveals his true identity to Bob, he attempts to kill his former idol. But Bob survives and sneaks back into Syndrome's facility, where he discovers the truth. He stumbles across files and body counts of other supers who came before him. People like Gazerbeam and Vectress, lured in the same way, were tested and killed when they failed to defeat the robot. Bob is shaken because he realizes he was used. He didn't rediscover heroism. He was helping its biggest enemy get stronger. Then things escalate. Helen, worried that Bob might be cheating, flies out to find him, mistakenly bringing Violet and Dash along for the ride. Syndrome finds out, and this is where he fully unhinges. Let's pause on that. This is a full-blown psychopath. Buddy Pine, who once just wanted to help his idol, is now okay with killing kids? Anyway, with Bob shattered, thinking his family is dead, Syndrome delivers one of the coldest lines in the movie.
I seem to recall you prefer to work alone.
A taunt and a callback to the moment that started it all, when Bob rejected Incrediboy. Now the roles are reversed. Syndrome has all the power, and Bob is broken, helpless, and furious. This is also about revenge, but even worse, domination. Syndrome wants to humiliate Bob the way Bob humiliated him. Thankfully, the family survives, and what follows is one of the most important shifts in the story. For the first time, they fight together. Dash and Violet outmaneuver armed guards. Helen leads. Bob defends. They stop hiding from each other and start becoming stronger because of each other. Syndrome eventually captures all of them, and he smugly explains his endgame. He plans to launch a perfected Omnidroid on a city, let it wreak havoc, then show up pretending to defeat it so he can be the hero the world worships, because he wants to prove that it's fake, that anyone can wear a cape as long as they've got the right tech. And once he's had his moment in the sun, he'll sell his inventions. Mass-produce the extraordinary, make everyone super, because, as he says,
And when everyone's super,
No one will be.
But Violet, whose powers had previously flickered from anxiety and self-doubt, breaks free of the containment and unlocks the rest of the family. With Mirage's help, they board a second rocket and head to the city. At this point, two men who once believed they were born to save the world are fully unmasked. But whether they have both learned their lessons depends on everything that happens next. So far, we've seen that to twist a villain into a hero, you have to first give them purpose. Then you strip them of that purpose. With a hole left in them, fill it with something egotistical or selfish. Lastly, force a confrontation where the twist hero must face a reflection of their original self. In Metroville, the Omnidroid lands like a meteor and immediately throws the city into chaos. Syndrome finally steps into the spotlight as the fake savior. He swoops in just in time to save a woman and her baby from a flying petrol tanker, then smugly announces who he is.
no, I'm a new superhero. I'm Syndrome!
Dude didn't even care whether or not people were standing where he threw the tanker. But by now, nothing Syndrome does surprises us anymore. Moving on, Syndrome stages a fight with the robot, pretending to be outmatched while secretly using his wrist remote to pop off a limb. The crowd is happy, and Syndrome's fantasy is working. He's getting the recognition he always wanted. And he's finally, in his mind, showing the world what real heroism looks like. Efficient, flashy, and all under his control. But his plan had a flaw. The Omnidroid was designed to learn, and what it learns in this moment is deadly. The commands are coming from a remote. The robot knocks the control band off Syndrome's wrist. Then it targets the rocket boosters in his boots and sends him careening into a nearby skyscraper. In seconds, Syndrome's big debut turns into a total humiliation. The hero gig he built from scratch crashes harder than he does. That's when the real heroes show up.
Is everybody okay back there?
Super duper, Dad!
Yeah, it's a rough landing, far from Syndrome's, but theirs was real. At first though, Bob is still tempted to go solo, to fix the mess himself, to prove he's still the man who can lift a truck and save the day. But Helen stops him. They're not here because he's strong, but because they're a family. And after everything he's lost and nearly destroyed, Bob finally admits that he is scared of losing his family.
He can't lose you again!
I can't. Not again.
Finally agrees to work with his family and Frozone. It's chaotic, messy, and imperfect, but it's real.
Press the button! Not yet!
What are you waiting for?
This is the first time Bob truly accepts that heroism isn't about the glory, but about working together, even when no one's clapping. Syndrome, on the other hand, learns nothing. After being knocked unconscious, he regains consciousness and flies straight to the Parr home, furious, embarrassed, and dead set on revenge. The Incredibles may have saved the city, but Syndrome still wants the last laugh. This is where his transformation comes full circle. He's no longer trying to be a hero or prove anything to the world. Now, he just wants to hurt Bob. He wants to take something from him, the way Bob took his dream.
You took away my future.
I'm simply returning the favor.
His new plan is to steal Jack and raise him as a sidekick as a way to spite Bob. But like all of his plans, they are not entirely well thought out. Jack, who up until now seemed like the only powerless Parr, unleashes. Jack kicks Syndrome's butt mid-air, falls to the ground, but is caught mid-fall by Helen. Bob, finally acting like a protector rather than a performer, hurls his sports car at Syndrome's jet to stop him from escaping. And just like that, poetic justice. Syndrome's cape gets sucked into the turbine of his aircraft. Remember when E warned Bob about capes? Yep. Or we could even go back to the beginning when Bon Voyage stuck a bomb to Incrediboy's cape. That time, Bob had saved him. But this time around, he let the cape pull Syndrome into the turbines of his private jet. In the end, Syndrome is remembered as the guy who got himself killed by his own costume, trying to kidnap a baby. That's the difference between Bob and Syndrome. They were both hurt, both rejected, both desperate to feel needed. But when Bob finally looked around and saw what he still had, he changed. When Syndrome looked around and saw what he'd lost, he doubled down. Bob found love. Syndrome fed on resentment. One chose connection, the other clung to control. At the end, one man is standing with his family stronger than ever. The other, gone, swallowed by his own delusion. Twisting your hero into a villain is one thing, but writing that villain in a way that terrifies the audience? Now that's a real challenge. Luckily, we have a video right here that breaks down how to and how to not terrify the audience.